Oh, híjole. What a versatile shout. For moments of wonder or when plans go south. When a friend shares bad news, you gasp in dismay. Híjole, that's awful, is what you might say. But when the chick comes after dining in style, you mutter híjole with a nervous smile. And if your neighbor brags of wild bedroom feats, híjole, really? While hiding defeat. It's harmless and fun, a word for the ages, expressing life's drama in all of its stages. Hee hee hee.
Coffee and Headlines is brought to you by the generous support of our viewers and the following community partners. Best Cord Cutting TV, Bravo's Restaurant Bar, El Rey Lounge de Versalles, Joint Boutique Hotel and Cowork, Puerto Vallarta Neurofeedback, Puerto Vallarta Owners Reps, Oculto, and Siam Cocina Thai. Thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting our community partners. Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headline. This is our morning get-together live here on Facebook, where we take a look at news from our city, state, and country. We take a look at what you bring to the table. We take a look at what's going on around us here in Puerto Vallarta. And we combine all this information and put it to good use as a community of English-speaking locals, either living here or visiting or having a special place for Puerto Vallarta in your hearts, in our hearts. It is a pleasure to see you today. It is Wednesday, December 11th. Tomorrow, we celebrate Guadalupe Day, so we're going to have a little bit of an explanation as to where the legend came from and why we come to celebrate the Virgin of Guadalupe on December 12th. But first, we're going to talk about a few news items, a couple of things that I forgot to mention yesterday, and we'll take it from there. But first, as always, if you are watching live for the first time, feel free to add a capital letter L. No. If you're watching live, capital letter N. More coffee. Capital letter N as in new, and we'll give you a nice little welcome. And if you have a comment or a question that is truly important, you're looking for a reaction or an answer, add a capital letter Q at the beginning, and we'll do our best to connect the dots. Let us start with some news. Yesterday, we mentioned CMQ Hospital and a possible price gouging on hospital bills, which is not a nice thing to do. Today, we report another thing that is not a nice thing to do. Apparently, the locally owned company behind CMQ is building another branch in Fluvial at the intersection of Fluvial Avenue and Rodriguez Barba, where a few trees that were over 100 years old have been chopped to the ground. Apparently, City Hall authorized the cleaning of the lot, but not the tree cutting, and this is very, very sad. And apparently, while some of us have been enjoying other neighborhoods, we failed to notice that Ignacio Vallarta Street in Colonia Emiliano Zapata was shut down for vehicular traffic to make some repairs. So we're glad to inform that the street will reopen momentarily, particularly since we're going to be in that neck of the woods this afternoon to produce a spotlight. And yesterday, I praised Dentalestetic as an excellent professional, affordable, and bilingual dental clinic, but forgot to publish their Facebook page on the show notes. Oh no. So I will definitely do that today. Apologies. This is where I went to get my teeth addressed early last week, and it was horrible because I fear the dentist, but it was excellent because their service was absolutely out of this world, and their patience was just great. And of course, I've been talking to you for a day now, maybe a day and a half, about this special International Friendship Club membership giveaway. And we're going to continue promoting this with your permission. So let's have another look at this video. December is a month of giving, and what better time to share some holiday cheer and tell you all about the wonderful International Friendship Club. This incredible organization not only brings our community together with fun and engaging events, but also lends a helping hand to those in need. By becoming a member, you're joining a network of kindness and generosity. And here's the best part. An annual membership is just 600 pesos. With discounts to dozens of local businesses, your membership practically pays for itself while supporting a truly meaningful cause. Now, do you want to hear something even more exciting? Thanks to the generosity of some amazing donors, Coffee and Headlines has over 30 International Friendship Club memberships to give away. Starting on December 16, we'll be handing them out as giveaways during our live morning broadcasts, and the giveaways will continue until they are all gone. Want to be eligible? It's quite simple. Just join us live on Coffee and Headlines. At the end of each broadcast, we'll hold a drawing to choose the lucky winners. Don't miss out your chance to spread the joy of the season and be part of something special. Mark your calendar and tune in. You could be one of the winners. Yay, I'm so excited. And here's our weather. Let's see what's going on. Weather says this is one of the sunniest days we've ever seen from the standpoint of sun rays. I suppose that means it's very sunny out there. It's 24 degrees, humidity is at 68%, and our weather forecast for today says we're going to have a humid day with clear skies throughout the day, a high of 27 and a low of 18. Tomorrow, Thursday, humid with mostly clear skies throughout the day, a high of 28 and a low of 20. And then Friday will be a humid day with clear skies throughout the day, a high of 28 and a low of 19. Now, I'm still feeling a ticklish throat, which is why I'm kind of like tentatively speaking. I don't want to cough, but it is what it is. Anyhow, boom, 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 boom. Tomorrow is the day in which we celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe. So you're probably wondering where that came from, why we do it. And if you're not, well, get comfy because I'm going to tell you a story. This whole thing starts in 1974, or at least that's where we're going to pick up the story. Why in 1474, not 1974. 1474, which puts us right in the heart of a period in European history known as the Renaissance, which roughly covers the 15th and 16th century. And it is a period characterized by an effort to revive and surpass ideas and achievements of classical antiquity. Many extraordinary works of art were created during this period, including this one by Michelangelo, who was actually born in 1474. Of course, this was happening in Europe. So what exactly was happening in America in 1474, and more specifically, in what we now know as Mexico? Well, for starters, the Aztec Empire was just 46 years old. That's a small amount of time. It was a young empire, and the Spanish conquistadors did not reach Mexican coasts until 1519 or 45 years later. So in 1474, when we begin our story, the Aztec Empire was in the midst of growing. Now, why 1474? Well, a little baby boy was born that year. We don't know what he looked like. There were no cell phone cameras at the time, boom, boom. But we know two things about him. First of all, his parents named him Cuauhtlatoatzin, which means he who speaks with eagles. And number two, He was born in Cuautitlan, some 28 kilometers east-northeast of Mexico City's historic center, which of course was not known as Mexico City at the time. This was part of the Texcoco kingdom. Now, let's take a look at where this was located on the map. Here's what Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City, looked like around the time Cuauhtlatoatzin was born. Let me get my pointer out. So, Cuautitlan was located in the northeastern quadrant of the city, somewhere around here. Here's the Lago de Texcoco. So this is where this gentleman was born. And let us remember for a second that Texcoco, and I mean of Tenochtitlan, I'm sorry, was surrounded by water. Let us remember for a second that this is where the Aztecs were promised a kingdom that they could claim for themselves. We did not have Google Earth earlier, but this is an estimated aerial view of what Tenochtitlan must have looked like from that general period. Okay, now let's fast forward to 1524, or 5 years after the Spanish conquest. 50 years have passed since this little baby boy, Cuauhtlatoatzin, was born, and both Franciscan and Augustinian priests were busy introducing Catholic religion and beliefs throughout the region. There were no convents or churches yet, but Cuauhtlatoatzin became intrigued by the teachings offered by the priests, and in this particular year he was baptized, adopting the Hispanic name of Juan Diego. He also got married by the church to his wife, who adopted the Hispanic name of Maria Lucia. 7 years later, in 1531, Juan Diego was walking to Tlatelolco, and in order to get there, he had to go around a hill called Tepeyac. And on that hill, on Saturday, December 9, the Virgin Mary appeared before him. She told him to go to the bishop, whose name was Juan de Zumárraga, and to ask him to build a church under her name. This was the first apparition. So Juan Diego went to the bishop, who didn't believe him, so he returned to the hill where the Virgin appeared again, asking him to insist. And this was the second apparition. The following day, Juan Diego went to the bishop and to try and convince him. But the bishop asked for proof of the so-called apparition. So that same day, he went back to the hill and the Virgin appeared for a third time, asking him to return the following day, in which the Virgin would provide proof for Juan Diego to bring back to the bishop. But the following day was a Monday, and instead of going back to the hill to look for the Virgin, Juan Diego found his uncle Juan Bernardino quite ill and feeling that death was coming. The uncle asked Juan Diego to go find a confessor. So early in the morning on Tuesday, December 12th, Juan Diego decided to prioritize the well-being of his uncle and attempted to avoid the hill where he had encountered the Virgin, so he took an alternate route. But wouldn't you know it, the Virgin popped up along his path, so he had no choice but to explain his motives to her. This was the fourth apparition. And after explaining the situation about his uncle, the Virgin told him, "I hear you and I understand. But you don't have to worry. Am I not here? Am I not your mother?" So Juan Diego asked for the sign that he was to deliver to the bishop, and the Virgin Mary sent him to collect some flowers on the hill, collecting them on his tilma, or cloak. That is the piece of fabric that he was wearing around his neck so that he could carry fruits or vegetables or whatever he was harvesting. So despite the fact that it was a dry and cold December, Juan Diego was able to collect enough flowers, roses specifically, to bring back to the Virgin. She then instructed him to take the flowers to the bishop as proof of her existence. Think about it, flowers in December, and it was cold. So once he reached Bishop Zumárraga, Juan Diego opened his cloak to let the flowers fall to the ground, and quite inexplicably, the image of the Virgin appeared on the fabric of his cloak. From this moment on, the Virgin became the spiritual heart of the church in Mexico. And according to Catholic tradition, that same image from that same cloak is what hangs behind the altar at Mexico City's Basilica de la Virgen de Guadalupe, although there is no scientific proof behind this claim. But how did she become Guadalupe? Let me sneeze, baby. You try doing this with a congested nose one of these days, and you tell me how you would fare. Oh my God, I am so stuffed. Anyhow, let me go back to my story. So Juan Diego didn't come home on the day at the bishop's request. The following day, he took the bishop and his posse to the place where the Virgin had appeared to him and to find out where they were to build a sanctuary under her name. So the bishop and his men later accompanied Juan Diego to his home, and where he found his uncle completely healed. Another miracle. He was healed and free of any disease. And as it turns out, the Virgin appeared to his uncle as well in what would be the fifth and final apparition. And it was the Virgin who told the uncle that she wanted to be known as the Virgin Santa Maria de Guadalupe, Saint Mary of Guadalupe. So, Juan Diego was so moved by the experience that he left his home and family, and with the bishop's permission, he spent the rest of his life in a humble shack next to the chapel that had been built where the Virgin of Guadalupe had appeared, keeping it clean and tidy. He died in 1548 at age 73 and was canonized as San Juan Diego by Pope John Paul II in 2002. So you are probably how this story was documented. Well, I present to you the Nican Mopoa, or the cover page anyway. This phrase, Nican Mopoa, means here is the narration in Nahuatl. And this was a document published in 1649 that contained the complete description of what is aptly named in Nahuatl here, and translated means the great event in which the Queen of the heavens, Saint Mary, our beloved Mother of Guadalupe, appeared here near Mexico City in a place known as Tepeyac. The source of the material allegedly came from previous writings by Antonio Valeriano, a historian of the time who apparently heard the account from Juan Diego himself. But most importantly, this is the document that the Spanish conquistadors used to convince the indigenous population that the Virgin of Guadalupe was real and she had appeared, and it was important for the entire population to follow her teachings. Since then, of course, December 12th is the day in which Mexico, the United States, and many other places around the world honor Our Lady of Guadalupe, the patron saint of Mexico. The popularity of Our Lady of Guadalupe rose through time, and many believers began visiting her sanctuary on a regular basis, and increasingly so in the days previous to the anniversary of her apparitions. There was no Uber. So in 1857, Ignacio Comonfort, president of Mexico, inaugurated a train from the heart of Mexico City to Guadalupe to make it easier for people to reach the sanctuary. A few years later, the first official pilgrimage in Mexico City took place in 1864 when the Emperor Maximilian and his wife Carlota visited the Church of Guadalupe as their first official reception in Mexico. But by the end of the 1800s, the original basilica was in danger due to the instability of the ground where it was built. Remember, the entirety of the Valley of Mexico was built on top of a lake. By 1950, a nationwide fundraising campaign got started to build a new basilica, which led to the new basilica, which was completed in 1976. It sits next to the old one, and it became the most visited Marian precinct in the world, with some 20 million pilgrims visiting it annually, surpassed only by St. Peter's Basilica. And this, my friends, completes our expanded telling of the myth of the Virgin of Guadalupe. All I have left to do here is to remind you, left before we go into our chit chat section, to remind you that this afternoon we have the spotlight at 4, featuring Rick Hepting of Explanta and Stan Wagner, who's going to talk of PV Owners Reps, who's going to talk about home safety audits. And we have still accepting pre-registrations for interviews in the second half of January and February. How exciting is that? Oh my goodness. And I even chopped down my song short. Didn't mean to do that, but I did it. Let's see what we have. Good mornings. Good mornings. We love your good mornings. And more good mornings. Happy hump day from Fluvial. Thank you very much, Sue. It's always great to see you. And I don't know how you accomplished that, Albert. I am envious in the best possible way. See, maybe the thing is to go to Costco early in the morning when I'm producing Coffee and Headlines. So I don't know that I couldn't get away with that. Let's see. Da 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 da. Dun 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 dun. My goodness. Lots of chatting. And that's lovely. And one comment from Mark. The old basilica is beautiful. It is beautiful indeed. Both the old one and the new one, in its own way, has its own charms. And this was our presentation for today, our program for today. I'm sorry my nose is so congested. I will blow it momentarily. But while I do that, feel free to give everything we do a thumbs up. Feel free to spread the word. Feel free to stop by the Joint Boutique Hotel this afternoon if you want to say hello. We're going to be producing the Spotlight at 4 p.m. If not, I will hopefully see you here tomorrow morning as usual. Have a great day, and tomorrow we will be grateful that we celebrate the Day of Guadalupe and that hopefully traffic around the downtown area becomes slightly more manageable. Take care.